Greetings, my friends. My name is Caleb Saucer, and I am excited today to be joined by my friend, Darren Sargent.
Thank you, man.
Today, we're going to be talking about his newest book, Battle the Beast, Defeating the Lions That Oppose Your Destiny. Now, many of you are probably familiar with Brother Sargent. Many of you have probably experienced his ministry, heard him preach. But just in case you don't know, Brother Sargent is one of these guys that has done just about everything. From children's ministry to youth ministry to pastoring to district leadership.
You know, wherever they want me.
International evangelist, I think, is an appropriate title. Now the director of Ministry Central.
Yeah.
Also a prolific speaker and writer, has the opportunity to be a speaker, not just in churches, but in schools and other organizations, and motivational speaker. Your ministry is very, very broad. Husband, father, but probably the best
the
title
biggest
you have right now.
And we're just a few weeks in.
Just a few weeks into Papa Sarge.
I am Papa Sargent. Our first grandchild was born, Wesley Blue.
Baby Wesley Blue. And I've got it on good authority that as excited as we are that Wesley is here, Wesley is excited that you have written a new book called Battle.
That's right. He was one of the first to be posed with this new book.
Absolutely. So, Battle the Beast. So, Brother Sargent, we just want to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about this book.
Yeah.
Maybe as a way of getting us started, tell us a little bit about what the book is intended to do.
Okay.
And what set you off on this journey. Why did you spend this time of your life writing this book?
Years ago, I have always been fascinated with the study of King David, and especially his formative years. I preach a message where I talk about David's mighty men. And one of those mighty men is a guy by the name of Benaiah, who the Bible says goes down into a pit with a lion on a snowy day and takes care of the lion. In this message that I preach, for just a few moments, briefly talk about Benaiah and this moment. And one day last year, I woke up and I felt like, you know what? I need to talk a little bit more about Benaiah. And so I said, maybe I'll write a book on it, begin to list different things that I think would go into the book. And basically the premise behind it is when Benaiah goes down into a pit with this lion on a snowy day, he's waging war against a potential threat.
Okay.
He took care of it then, but in his mind, I believe it was possible that he was thinking, if I deal with this now, while it's beneath the surface, it won't come out later to harm somebody that's walking this path, maybe my children, maybe someone I know, maybe another family that's out for a stroll. The premise behind it is we need to take care of things now so they don't destroy us later.
I love that.
And that's basically what this book is about.
I love that. And so you kind of use this story and you equate different things that we may battle as lions that we should try to defeat. What are some of the lions that you...
The 12 different lions that I write about, and the first one I think is probably the most important because it's the underlying lion. See what I did there?
I like that.
It's the underlying lion that all of us deal with, and that's the lion of fear.
Okay.
Fear is a spirit. Paul writes to Timothy and says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power and of love and of a sound mind. So fear is kind of the foundational presence, if you will, of that which tries to keep us from becoming who God called us to be.
Sure.
I live by this statement, you can only fix what you're willing to face. Okay. You can only correct what you're willing to confront. And a lot of times when it's hidden under the surface, we just want to keep it there. You don't see maybe some of the things that's going on under the surface in my life. So as a result of us thinking no one knows what's going on, I'm good. I'll just leave it there.
Sure.
And every once in a while, I may say, God, you need to help me with this. But I think we have to address these issues. We have to fight them. So the lion of fear is probably the foundational lion. One of the ones that I really, really enjoyed writing about was the lion of apathy.
Okay.
And I talked about it's so easy in our culture to kind of just roll over and play dead. We've got gifted, talented people. I get into the comparison issue with social media. You're doing great things. You're showing it out on social media. Those are just the highlights.
Sure.
And we don't really know what's going on. But as a result of some of that pressure, we kind of sink back into this lackadaisical attitude. And, well, I'll get to it when I turn into an adult.
Sure.
I'll get to this. You got to take care of things in your teens so they don't destroy you in your 20s.
Take care of them now.
Take care of them now. So apathy is one of those that wants to keep us locked in a box of limitations. And I talk about it. If you know me, I was born this way, extremely handsome, but with one hand. And I've had to deal with limitations that I tried to put on myself, the enemy tried to put on myself, but mainly what others tried to put on me. Yeah. And I think we have to push against the edges of that and go to where God's called us to go.
I love that. So take it a little bit further. Okay. We can't give the whole book away.
Yeah.
But for somebody who's maybe watching this, that maybe you hit a nerve, you hit a pain point with fear, you hit a pain point with apathy, just in those two lions. What is one practical takeaway they could expect to take away from reading this book that could help them defeat those lions?
Well, I think the first thing is recognition.
Okay.
You have to recognize that these things are real issues, that it's not just something that we can sugarcoat and maybe a 5-minute tongue talking is going to take care of it.
Sure.
You've got to root these issues out. You've got to deal with those things. So recognition to me is the first thing. There's some things we'll never grow past till we know what they are.
Yeah.
And I've tried to identify these lions as those things that are trying to stop our destiny, keep us from becoming the people that God's called us to become. But then you have to act. You've got to start putting together a game plan, if you will. Sure. No team goes out on the court, goes out on the field and just says, well, let's just do whatever we want to do. No, there's patterns, there's principles. And so in this book, I kind of unleash some different principles. And one of them is action. You have to move. You've got to get up. There's, God told Moses, you've got to get to a place where you are stepping, and every place that you step, I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah.
The steps of a good man, the Bible says, are ordered of the Lord, but we still got to step.
Sure.
Sometimes we want this lightning bolt to come from heaven.
Yeah. And God,
God said, yeah, there it is. No, I've got to move into it. I got to fight for it.
Yeah.
I don't want my children to be devastated by something that I have not overcome.
Absolutely. So on that, there's a quote. It's page 40 of the book. So if you've got your copy,
if you don't,
make sure if you don't have your copy, you go to page 40. You can find this quote. You're talking about Benaiah. You make the statement. You say, he understood a profound lesson that we all must grasp. If I don't address this issue while it remains hidden beneath the surface, it could resurface unexpectedly in the future, posing a risk to myself, someone walking this same path, or someone I deeply care about. What I love that you draw out here is it's not just the risk to us, but it's this idea that if I don't deal with these things now, then it potentially puts my legacy at stake. It puts my family at stake. It puts future generations at stake. Talk about that a little bit more, why that's so important.
Well, I think destiny is so strongly tied to legacy. My life, and since our children were young, since the moment they could understand, my wife and I would tell them, you are going to invest your life in those things that will outlive you. You're going to invest your life in eternal matters. We see the here and now, and we think that's all that there is to live for. My goal, my desire, and it's hopefully illustrated throughout this book, is I want you to recognize what we do now is not just a present reality. Sure, we're in the here and now, but I'm building something for future generations. I want my grandchildren to know, okay, Papa, that sounds so good. Papa took care of this in his 20s so that I can experience hope and purpose and passion. And I think so many families want to push the responsibility of putting this into our kids off onto somebody else instead of saying, I'm responsible. Benaiah, I think, recognized if I don't deal with this, my grandchild could be walking this path, and this lion be a little hungry and take him out. And he doesn't have the ability like I have right now in my life to take care of it. So to me, I think he represents so much more than just taking care of a current issue. It's something that's down the road. And we have to start looking. Legacy is a long look. It's looking beyond what we currently have, what we currently possess, into what we can experience. For Abraham looked for a city whose builder and maker was God. Abraham was promised all these things and never saw them, but his grandchildren did.
Absolutely.
And so I think we have to approach life that way.
Yeah, that's good.
So
We talk a lot about in society, you see these negative patterns
Yeah.
that seem to persist in families
Sure.
where my dad was an alcoholic and he came from 3 generations of alcoholics that were before him. And so we talk a lot about how we can break those generational legacies, those generational patterns. Reality, my wife and I were talking the other day that in the same way those negative patterns can be generational, health is passed down as well.
so true.
Spiritual health, mental health, emotional health. Somebody's got to be willing to jump off the crazy
Someone's
cycle.
got to be the one that breaks the cycle.
Absolutely. Somebody's going to be the cycle breaker that says it stops with me.
Exactly.
And even if you're first generation,
So
you
good.
have the opportunity. You didn't come from 6 generations of legacy and Pentecost and apostolic faith and all this. Somebody's got to, legacy starts somewhere.
Someone's got to be the Jabez
Absolutely.
that says, bless me,
Absolutely.
work through me,
Yeah.
use me. I look at my wife and what she has overcome in her life, and just being as a result of what she came from, the ability to look at what has captivated so many of our family members and say,
Yeah.
I'm going to break the curse.
Not here.
Not here, not on my watch.
Yeah, my kids aren't living in the same mess. So good. Well, I hope that you've been inspired by this just brief look at a whole lot of content that's here.
Thank you.
Maybe as a way of closing, just a couple questions for you. Who is this book for?
I've written it with probably 2 different groups in mind, but really it's for 3.
Okay.
The young person, young adult. I think this is a tremendous book just to begin to incorporate into your life and into your spirit. Young couples, I think this is something that will help them. Okay, if I can deal with these things,
Yeah,
my children may not have to.
sure.
And then even those that are maybe the elderly status, I'm not saying who they are, but
What age is this? Start at, Brother Sargent.
I would say 75 for
We just front the target audience.
Exactly. But for my generation that are now in their 50s and are seeing your children have children,
Sure.
I've written it for those that maybe they can take this and pass down some lessons on how to incorporate these strategies and principles and ways to get through whatever it is that they're dealing with in their life.
Yeah, that's helpful. There's something in this book for everybody, no matter what season of life you're in.
That was my hope.
Yeah.
Hope it comes across that way, but
100%. You can benefit from the words that Brother Sargent has put to paper. Last question, and
Oh,
then
boy.
we'll wrap it up, is somebody buys this book, they make the investment.
Yeah.
As the author, somebody who spent countless hours kind of pouring your heart out in the pages of this book, what do you hope is the impact of this on?
the number one idea in writing this is to ensure 2 things. You have a purpose, you have a destiny, and there is a legacy that you are creating and leaving. I want people to recognize that you're not just put on this planet just to waste time. There is a purpose. You have something God's called you to do that's unique, that's different from what God's called me to do. And for us to recognize that, I think is so important. That piece there of your purpose, your destiny, your value, what God's creating you to be, and then also understanding that in the way that Benaiah did, you're taking care of something for legacy and future generations.
So good.
that's
Thank you
it.
for your time today.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you to those of you who have watched this interview. All this and more can be found in Battle the Beast. You can get your copy today at pentecostalpublishing.com, both in print format and in ebook format, whichever is your preference. But go grab your copy today and be blessed by the words of Brother Sargent. God bless you, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.